is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. Today is Thursday, March 27th, a little after 11 o'clock in the morning. Once again, this is C.A. Newry and I shall be your host for the day. Today we're going to have a discussion. It's going to be when you mash two things together type discussion. I saw a commentary online, actually it was in the newspaper, where Father Sebastian Campbell was inquiring, suggesting, pushing forward the need to have a special holiday day designated for Sir Lyndon in terms of celebrating his birthday, which is cool. Sir Lyndon is the father of the nation. I believe he needs to be recognized as many times as we can. But there's a discussion on whether the Bahamas needs another holiday, and the pros and the cons and regarding such. There are a number of people say, man, Sir Lyndon needs to be honored. We must have this. Sebastian Campbell has been leading the charge in regards to national heroes. I think he is one of those penultimate champions who championed the last majority rule holiday, which is January 10th. I think he is one who ushered that in and promoting that with Frederick Mitchell. And he is now championing a new cause. Aaron, did you find that article yet? No? Not yet.
The one you sent me?
Not
Okay.
that one. The one with Sebastian Campbell. I'm not sure if you found that
It's a
yet.
recent one?
It was a recent one. Continue to look for that.
Like in this last week?
Within this last week. With that, I have Uncle Sarah, Pastor Clement Enius III, who is the cajon of the Coptic Church of the Black Messiah. And, usually we have him every so often or every Thursday where we interrogate another outlook on Christianity. And I'm learning to pronounce that almost right.
You're doing well.
Yeah, Christianity, which is, to me, is a version of Christianity, but it's more of an African spirituality where how I concluded that his belief, or the belief of of that church, say that these variances of religion came from an African concept, and people adopted and twisted it to mean something different. This week, the Coptic Church of the Black Messiah is celebrating Passover. And I said, I didn't know you all have Passover also. But they are also honoring their dead, or honoring their ancestors. So I decided to put the topic about honoring Sir Lyndon, our ancestor, father of nation, to conjoin that with the Coptic Church Passover celebration. So while Dr. Enius explained how they get Passover, which I thought was a Jewish thing, right, in their religion, and explain that, I'll have Aaron continue to Google and search this article with Sebastian Campbell, and then so every listening audience can appreciate what is his suggestion. And then I have a response by one of the local historians who do research in the United Kingdom. She's one of the lead researchers in terms of researching old magazines, old periodicals on the Bahamas in general. And I wanted to share her commentary on that too in response to Sebastian Campbell. So, Uncle, Dr.
Yes.
How you
Sure.
get Passover?
Well, first of all, I want to say Namastu, which means I bow to the divinity within you. My name is Pastor Dr. Cleveland W. Enius III, also known as Kahun Anku Sarah. I want to take the listeners, first and foremost, as we talk about honoring ancestors and honoring that which we hold sacred. In the book of Acts, chapter 12, it makes mention of the word Easter, right? In the Bahamas, being a Christian nation, we don't necessarily say that we follow Passover per se, right? We will talk about Lent, and then we'll move from Lent into what we call Easter, right? And then there are other observances even in between Lent and Easter, right? Within the Holy Coptic Church, we understand that the word Easter, when we see it in the book of Acts, chapter 12, verse 4, when you look up this word Easter, you don't find the word Easter. You will find the word Passover, right? In fact, in the third verse of Acts chapter 12, they mention these days of unleavened bread, right? And then they reference these days of unleavened bread to what they refer to as Easter. So technically, the word Easter is not even, the word Easter is not substantively. The word is there, but when you look up this word, you see Pasak, or what we know as Fisak. So within the Holy Coptic Church, going back to the original teachings of the original African Messiah, Yahshua Christ, we understand he being of the bloodline of one of our great ancestors known as Asaru, who the Greeks call Osiris, and his wife Aset, who the Greeks call Isis. We, during this week of the March 22nd to the 28th, and it doesn't change. Every year we have Passover from March 22nd to the 28th because it is referencing the death of this Asaru. So Friday coming will be what we would reference as the Sabbath of Sabbaths in terms of today Christians within the Greco-Roman Church, they will refer to this Friday where they say Jesus was crucified as Good Friday. You'll hear about Good Friday coming up in a few weeks in April. We understand that if this person died once, the date would not change with regard to when they died. The fact that Easter was at the end of March last year, and this year it is at basically the end of April, means that it's not really about the person who died, but about these new moons and this idea of when the full moon was, etc., which is actually spoken against in the book of Isaiah chapter 1, right? But ultimately, what this Passover is about us recognizing our ancestry with regard to our bloodline, and the fact that in us recognizing who our ancestors are, their way of life, their image, their likenesses, etc., we are protected by not only observing, but actually what they originally taught us to live. This aspect of becoming at one with the divinity within us, right? This divinity within us goes back to the abilities, goes back to the realities of what's in our DNA, what's in our RNA, what's in our chromosomes, right? It also ties us in with nature, understanding that to be not only passed over, but watched over, right, by those who have for millennia lived in an environment where we controlled our resources, we controlled our destiny, we controlled our narrative, something that we as CARICOM, we as even Africans on the continent are struggling with because we are so influenced by so-called first world powers. And it is only through us recognizing the source of the influence and the power that we say we want that we will get back to the place where we once rule ourselves again. So this week is Passover, March 22nd to the 28th. It doesn't change for us as Atonis Christians. And we observe it. For those who follow us on Facebook, we call it Fisak Shemo. We observe it with a solemn feast initially, and then every night there's the lighting of or Sabbath candles, and we'll explain the story of Asaru. Go ahead.
I was about to say, so you telling me that the people who are accusing you of practicing Obeah are the ones who are practicing Obeah? Also, is daylight savings time Obeah? But right, like the shifting your perception, right? By shifting how you relate to nature and the seasons around you in an attempt to change the way you think to make you more controllable.
Well, yeah, to interfere with your identity. See, if you have been taught that to have an African identity is to be less than those who are in rulership, then psychologically you've been oppressed, you've been stunted, and thereby made to feel as if the only way you can truly be successful is to negate who you truly are and to be more like the dominant culture, which in many instances is the European or the Western European culture. So what begins to happen is you begin to adopt whatever they put in place to ultimately enhance your standing in
Their society.
their society.
Right.
You understand?
And then it disrupts your ability to relate to nature or your natural state.
And it creates a cognitive dissonance. It creates you have this core value or this core way of thinking that you think is your way of thinking. But Dr. Amos Wilson talks about the fact that you literally have been programmed to think like your oppressor. And their way of thinking that you now think is your thinking, you now begin to project on others who don't necessarily think the way that you think. So you become an oppressor within your own community. And the oppressive way of actually functioning is now on autopilot.
As an advocate, and particularly with such a culturally sensitive issue or sector, right, or vibe, I found that it's very important to engage in a non-violent way, right? And so it's very important to not force ideas on people. You can't force someone to believe that gay people are good, or force them to believe that gay people should not be punished with violence, right? But you have to create an environment in which people want to share the same values, right? And so we start at the root of it, right? It's like no one should be punished with violence for thinking a different way, and sort of separating being from behavior. Yeah.
Also, I want to know, before we have Aaron read this article, right, and then the response, then we all have a conversation on celebrating ancestors and people who come before us. Does the Coptic Church have, let me write that, saints?
Yes, we do.
And like who? Like you have St. Augustine?
No,
St. Francis?
you would have Bob Marley is a saint within the Holy Coptic Church.
I think Bob Marley's a saint.
But yes, he's
The
somebody.
singer?
Yes,
The Jamaican boy?
But he's not just a singer. Bob Marley was an activist. He was an activist for liberation. He was an activist for the downtrodden within this world, ultimately seeing themselves as a liberated people. He was someone, and if you do any investigation into how saints are created within the Catholic Church, they have their way of pulling from their congregation or their community those who have done the works that they would ultimately point to as worthy of sainthood, and they go through that process and they create their saints. Well, we have the same process.
I want to hear about the process, and I want to hear about the list.
But for Bob Marley specifically, right? One of the things that I think, like, if he's to be named a saint, one of the things that would have been considered, if it is true, because I haven't verified it with my own eyes, but Bob Marley was apparently or allegedly a part of a movement to fund the legal education of a number of Africans, Pan-Africans, and Rastafarians specifically. And now, fast forward several decades, you could see the composition of the House of Commons in England has shifted dramatically, right? And so, like, that's a long-term goal. The boy was an economics rights advocate. He advocated for the poor, right? He advocated against poverty and the conditions that maintain poverty. And I think, if it is true, one of his greatest acts is organizing this financial contribution to create an appreciation for education and to propel young Africans into the law and thus into governance and politics.
Okay. Really have sainted. Give me the list.
I don't have all of them. off the
Oh,
top
how
of my
many
head.
you know? I mean, there's I'm sure a score. A score is a saint.
So
but I was surprised that someone made Bob Marley a saint.
So within the Holy Coptic Church, we have what's called the silsila. This silsila is the unbroken genetic chain. And this silsila goes all the way back to this Asaru and Asat. These are all what we call Coptic popes, right? These are people who have exemplified this way of life that we see being exhibited by those who we would see as saints. So amongst different singers, since we brought up Bob Marley first, Jimmy Cliff.
Cliff is a saint too?
He's also seen as a saint.
You know who Jimmy Cliff is, Aaron?
I know.
Okay, let's make sure. You're Jamaican. I mean, that's making sure you know. It's Jamaican topics.
Dreadlock can't live. That's Jacob Miller. I ain't joking. That's Jacob Miller.
Go ahead.
We also have the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We also have the Minister Louis Farrakhan. We also have Malcolm X. We also have Dr. Martin Luther. We also have Yaz Santiwa. We also have amongst the ancients those who, in the Bible they talk about this golden calf that they say the Israelites were worshiping. Well, they took this idea of a golden calf from one of the mascots of our university, and this guardian angelical is called Hathor. Hathor, as a word, means the house of illumination, or this place of light where we actually study. This was our way of talking about an actual place where we studied astronomy, where we actually took the time to understand the constellations and how these constellations affected our lives. You have also Bibi Claret Muhammad, who was the wife of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and others, right? And so, so these were people.
And forgive me,
And then
I see the list.
Garvey.
No, I see the list.
Yeah.
I understand and appreciate the list. How you all decided on these people?
We understood. And
And who decided? Is one person decide this?
This was a council. The council ultimately decides on how this list ultimately is put together. And each generation, you have one who is the head of that council, who would be our Basesh. And the list grows. The list is not something that is complete, because there are always those who are striving for the liberation of our people all across the continent, all across the world, right?
And do you call them saints?
Yeah, they're referred to as saints. Yes, they're referred to as saints, or BBs and brothers. Yes.
For a moment, like Malcolm X. Malcolm X, a complicated and savvy, right, individual. It's argued, it's theorized that the powers that be in the U.S. were prepared to let Malcolm X do what he was doing as long as they could use him, right? Like whatever he's doing, they could create a counter narrative for their purposes. It's argued that the decision was made to assassinate him when his politics and advocacy shifted slightly to focus on Aboriginal rights and land rights, right? And that particular space, they shut that right down. And so we talk about why would a Malcolm X be considered for sainthood, right? Like if you explore that space, that shift to Aboriginal rights and Aboriginal land rights, and that we know that term now, Aboriginal, right, is not used the way it used to be used, but that's how it was used at the time.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, so this is when we segue and go back to our article in terms of making our ancestors into saints. Important to the Bahamas. All facets of life, we acknowledge him, we revere him, hold him in his name in reverence, right? He too is a complicated individual, but now there's a cry to have him to have an additional acknowledgement, an additional accolade, and have a special day for him. I want to read that article, and so we can get to the response and have it juxtaposed to, again, the Coptic Church.
And then I could ask you a question after I read the
man,
article.
You can ask me a question. And I still have callers too, so all that. So go ahead. To the
all right, so we're going to read this article, Pindling's Birthday Proposed for New Holiday, from the Nassau Tribune, and this was posted Tuesday, March 25th. That's this week. The Progressive Liberal Party chairman, Fred Mitchell, has proposed that the government make the birthday of Sir Lyndon Pindling or a nearby date a national holiday.
This is Fred Mitchell.
Chairman of the PLP party. It is.
So it's a political thing. Okay, go ahead.
It's not the Fox Hill MP.
No. There's a chairman.
Yeah. Speaking at a PLP branch meeting in Fox Hill last night, maybe, I don't know, Mr. Mitchell said he presented a draft resolution to the party's caucus to begin discussions on the matter. Sir Lyndon, the country's first prime minister and a key figure in attaining majority rule, would have turned 95 on March 22nd. I can stick a pin?
Go ahead.
You notice they said a key figure and not the key figure? Okay, just saying. Mr. Mitchell said the resolution should be tabled on Thursday and called on supporters to rally behind it. Quote, his birthday is the 22nd, so I'd guess we'd say the third Monday in the month or something, he said. Energy Minister JoBeth Colby's guest speaker used the platform to call on PLP supporters to prepare for re-election efforts, warning that the party cannot afford to lose power as it continues its policy agenda. Quote, we have much, much more in store and much, much more coming on stream. She said, we cannot risk losing this term.
Does it talk more about Sir Lyndon or the article finish?
Okay, it talks more.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm still reading. No, it doesn't say anything more about Sir Lyndon.
And I see there's an interview by Sebastian Campbell. He was on Eyewitness News, and he was too, because he leads that.
I'm
committee.
glad. I'm glad because for a second there it just seemed like another piece of political, poetic rhetoric.
And before I go to the calls, and calls are coming to you right now, I want you to now read a response by Nicole Roberts, who is the daughter of Bradley Roberts. She's a historian, and she uses her platform to apply abstract Bahamian history and have a conclusion. But let's read her response to Fred Mitchell and, of course, Sebastian Campbell's cry to have Sir Lyndon's Pingling to have a special day, his birthday recognized. Go ahead.
Okay, the title of the statement or small article is A Holiday in Honor of Sir Lyndon Pindling, ? While it may be an intriguing concept, I would argue that the Bahamian people have not yet fully defined Heroes' Day and majority rule holidays. As we observe the evolving ethnic demographics of our nation, it becomes increasingly challenging to determine the significance of these days in the future.
You keep reading.
I had to catch my breath.
Yeah.
Declaring additional days as sacred cows on the Bahamas not trending in the industrialized world where productivity is measured as a matter of national economic urgency. Can we stick a pin there too? I coming back. No, we come back to it. I just want to stick a pin. The Bahamas has a productivity problem. Our work ethic and attitude towards work, given a changing economic climate, needs to be addressed. We have a social slackness problem. Too many boys on the street and not enough men. Another holiday, another 3 days of do nothing because we stop working from the day before and take the day after to recover will add what exactly? Furthermore, the creation of these holidays does not align with tangible events that establish a clear connection between the concepts and their intended purposes. Government creates them, have a church service, and then leaves it. We get one measly rehashed article in the newspaper if we are lucky, or we get a lecture by people who the youth basically see as fossils from an era before cell phones. If the purpose is to keep the memory of Sir Lyndon alive, maybe at first we should start with truly honoring the man by replacing that ridiculous poor boy statue of our greatest Bahamian at the National Airport. Let's start there.
And I want to let that
Why
sink
would
in.
you make me read something so exciting, such excitable people, and not expect excitement from me, Mr. Newry?
And we need to analyze this as sober Bahamians moving forward. And this way I'll allow the callers to come in. I see we have a couple callers. And we go back to Anku, and then we have you do commentary also. So let's go to the first caller there, Kermit. Go ahead, caller. Guardian Radio AM.
St. Anku and St. Pindling.
Yeah, two things.
Yeah, that's how we deal with that. But no, I'll tell you, I think they both demonstrate exceptional holiness. I mean, Anku comes on regularly and he uplifts us. I mean, what he put inside you and what he pull out of you, you realize you get a lot of dirt come out. So obviously, I think he should be, he and Finland should be a Bohemian. Now, let me get this word right for you. It's Bohemian. And that actually refers to someone who is a free thinker. Now, you might not realize that he's a Bohemian and a Bahamian. Man, look here. Let's work with Uncle and make them all saints. But, my dear friend, host, I tell you something, who can't be some saints? Because if you go and check and see what the Mormons and what the riches and the Vatican have in common, well, you'll dig up all them people and take that sainthood from them. Thanks.
I was about to.
I can see a St. Aaron.
I mean, I could see a St. Aaron too, not in St. Aaron Green though. I don't think it could be St. Aaron.
We got to
Green.
wash you in the blood first. Kermit, connect to the next caller.
Ain't enough blood, Newry. Ain't enough blood.
Good morning, caller. How you doing?
Doing well, Mr. Newry. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, sir.
Good. Good morning, Ms. Green, and good morning to Baranku.
Morning.
Good morning, brother.
By Baranku, I tell you, boy, I had some deep revelations the other day with Baranku. Baranku, when you were talking about the Passover, right? When you were talking about the importance of the constellations in our lives and different things like that, right? I mean, you know, it would be good, Baranku, if we could teach from a perspective that everything that we basically deal with on the earth was based upon the movement of everything above us. You know what I mean? That's the reason why they say Jesus is the 25th birthday, is the 25th of December, and religious leaders say that that's not the day, but there's a reason why they choose that day. You know, the kind of way, and you should know, brother, that that's the time when the sun stops moving further south and begins to its journey back to the east.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Because so the 25th is based upon the movement of the sun in the sky, and so is Passover. The Passover is the sun passing over the equator. That is what Passover is, and whenever we begin to link Passover with anything else, we'll never find our way home, Uncle, because you should know that ancient Kemet is where all of this stuff began, and it is based on mythology, and the mythology is based on the movement
And let's
of the constellations
stick up in
above
there.
us.
Stick up in there,
I didn't hear
caller. I just stick up in there for a second because you made a very important point. You said that all of these things come out of, you said ancient Egypt, right? Or Kemet, right?
Yeah.
That is actually what it says in the Bible. That is actually what it says when you look up this word Easter in Acts chapter 12, verse 4. And they talk about Pasach or Passover, and they say that it comes out of Egypt of old. It says that. So continue.
Yeah, but my point, though, brother man, is that you should know that the whole story about Isis, Horus, etc., that they are mythical stories. You know what I mean? And they are based upon the movement of the stars above us, and that is why the constellations is so important. And see, when we speak about, because I used to hear this saying that we are the universe expressing itself, like, you know, we are parts of the universe expressing itself as a human being. Have you heard that before?
Yes.
Yeah. So you see, so, and when you talk about being born at the constellations, you talk about, because I'm the one. I mean, because I've been telling you how important it is to consider when you were born, because that is what makes you you. You know, you understand where I'm coming from? And see, so when if you are an Aries, right, and you're born under that sign, then that means that what you are actually, you are Aries, the expressing itself.
We would say
as a human being.
we would say Asaru. We wouldn't say Aries.
No,
But
Aries.
Aries is, I'm just sharing.
trying to-
Hold on. We both sharing. So you would say Aries. We would say Asaru. The sign of Aries for us originally is Asaru.
Okay, well, let me cut out the calling the sign, and just let me say, whatever sign you were born under, right? You are that sign expressing itself as a human being.
So what
You
if
understand where I'm coming from now?
both your parents are not that sign?
No, but you say both of my parents are not that sign?
I'm just saying a person.
No,
what
see,
what
my
if both
parents-
of a
my-
person's parent is, if both parents are not the same sign, then what sign is dominant?
Okay, see, but brother, see, okay, do you know, my sign is what I am born under. My mother's
So your
sign,
parents don't
what?
affect that. They don't affect
No,
your
no,
sign.
wait, hold
I just
on,
asking.
Wait a second. But yeah, let me explain myself. You asked me a question.
Yeah.
my sign is my sign.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I was born. You understand? My mother's sign is her sign. That's when she was born. You understand? My father's sign is his sign. That's when he was born. Now, I've never heard anybody talk about what sign your mommy and daddy was as it relates to what sign you are.
Right.
Because what sign you are is the date you were born on. And see, and that brings me to another point. Because, see, I hear people use this word before, divine and divinity. And I had asked a brother one time when he was talking about it, I said, well, what is the meaning of divine? And he couldn't explain it. You understand? So to me, my birth is divine. And you know why? Because only the Creator is the one who made that decision as to when I was born. No man could predict that. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Except for your parents.
I cannot sit down here today and say, okay, me and the lady, we're gonna conceive this child, and this child is gonna be born on this exact date, unless on that date we have a C-section. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So my birth date is divine.
Yes.
And honestly and truthfully, it is the only thing in life.
Okay, let
is
us
divine.
respond to that then. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
So, time officinalis would be called cooking time. Has a number of properties, and one of the things it was used for, two of the things that it was used for in traditional medicine in old times, is that time could be used to induce pregnancies, as well as it could be
THYME.
THYME,
Yeah.
as well as it could be used to abort or terminate pregnancies.
Just oil do.
Right. Yeah. So in terms of predicting the time, it's possible.
But-
It's possible. But I'm not. Women are not allowed to speak in
Let's
this
go read
temple.
our text, man. Let's go read the text.
But
Let's
let
read
me,
the
let me
text.
just respond quickly. I ain't gonna be long.
You gonna
right?
be- you gonna be long?
No, because we're talking about creating a holiday based on Sir Lyndon Pinland's birthday.
Yes.
Right? Which ties into what the caller was talking about, right? The only thing I would want to share with the caller is that there are different perspectives on what we call signs, right? Aries, Pisces, that's Greco-Roman, right? We, within the African true religious identity of Platonism, we talk about solar biology, right? And we understand that when the Messiah said in Revelation 22:16 that he is the bright morning star, he represented, he was a terrestrial solar force on earth, which is saying similar to what he's saying, but there's a different perspective. That's all I want to share. And what was being called for here in terms of Sir Lyndon Pinland having a holiday on his birthday, to some people, it would tie into that.
Absolutely. So here's a text. This is just not a practical thing, especially for March.
I'm thinking they're talking about Passover and Easter, and you mentioned that it changes, right?
So,
and you
amongst
saying
the
that your
Greco-Romans,
you saying that your Passover is stagnant, it's staying
Not stagnant. Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
because the sun only passes over one time a year.
Right. So
What you call spring, what you call the vernal equinox, right?
Right. So it says, especially for March, Easter often falls in March. It would be chaos. It would be extremely possible for it would be extremely possible for the holiday to fall during Holy Week,
Yes.
which would mean a Monday holiday, then Good Friday, and then Easter Monday. Does that sound like sense? No, I can be honest with you, Texter. I have difficulty understanding what you're saying.
No,
Because,
I understand exactly what
no,
you're
but
saying.
what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
if it is static, then right, if the date is static, then all of the Good Friday, Monday, and machinations, they shift.
Right.
Like the whole thing is going to change.
No, what they saying is when Easter next year or whenever it's gonna be in March, it can line up with that same L.O. Pinland Day, and now it's gonna cause this confusion between L.O.
Oh,
Pinland
that
Day,
holiday.
L.O. Pinland holiday, and then Holy Week, because sometimes this would be the week of Holy Week. Last year,
And-
this week was Holy Week.
And,
So there'll be two holidays in 1 week.
hold on.
Right. That now you got to figure out when you're gonna actually either have that holiday after the Holy Week holidays or that Holy Week. Now we're making L.O. Pinland holy.
Even
so that
even the Bible say, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's and give unto God what is God's,
And-
right? Like which one's going to be what was? Because here's my thing. Because we should have gone to the letter. You should let me get the words out of my mouth for that letter, right? But are we really that serious about Easter here? Like, y'all tell me, y'all really care about Easter that much here?
Oh, they care, yeah.
No,
Easter and Passover and resurrection is a big
not
thing.
the celebration, not the pretty clothes, not the fascinators, right? Not the shiny cars and the wax tires and stepping out of church with 7-inch heels and you know you can't walk in them. None of that. I'm talking about Easter. I'm talking about the Christian message.
You mean sacredness of
I mean, right, and the sacredness of it. Are we really that serious about it? I just asking.
it's a tradition. It's a tradition.
I can accept that.
I'm going on the vein where Uncle suggested or hinted or read the texter that the Cylinden holiday, birthday, would fall within Easter.
Yeah, but then
Are we deifying him?
but that would then become, see, right now, this year it wouldn't appear that way. But when in years where the actual Holy Week would fall around his birthday, then the question.
No, it wouldn't arise.
Yeah.
It couldn't arise. There's no question on the table. If Cylinden's birthday falls in Holy Week, does that mean we
what if it-
deifying
what if it
Cylinden?
falls-
No, that's foolishness.
What if it falls on Easter? On the exact day of Easter.
So what?
We can't have Cylinden Day on Easter.
What you mean?
You can't have the holiday on
No,
Easter.
what you
That
mean?
belongs to God.
Hold on.
So ultimately,
That's God Day.
What you mean?
That means you can't have his holiday on God Day. Only one we can be celebrating. You can't be celebrating Cylinden and God.
You all put me back in the part of the temple. Put me back in the part of the temple where women are not allowed to talk. Okay, just put me right there. I think I'll be safer there.
Also, when the caller, he said, he asked about divinity, right? The word divine just simply means the nature of, right? So I agree with him. The day he was birthed was divine, right?
But what if you're premature? And you come before the
See,
intended time?
you're conflating. Okay, I mean,
Then the nature of your birth was premature. Premature
Simple.
babies are not divine. Is we have to understand the nature of. The nature has a nature.
okay.
The nature of nature.
So I want
And the fullness of time.
And the fullness of time. Every dilly don't fall the same time. Every mango don't fall the same time.
the only dilly fall off my tree is the one that slip out the raccoon hand. Listen, I want to get back to this letter, gentlemen,
Go ahead.
and talking about sort of conflating issues, right?
I did feel that way as I heard you reading it. There's a lot packed into that letter. You're talking about Miss Roberts' letter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think first of all, we're conflating issues. The productivity issue, right, is something. First of all, I feel like I tell you what my feelings are. When I read that, I feel like you all stay dissing poor people. Like the political class is constantly unaware of itself. Because here's the thing: the public holiday is not for you. You remember the political class? You enjoy life every day.
Right.
The public holiday is not for you. You get to not work any don't want to work, right? You get to make up hours. You get to hire. So you could hire a housekeeper, and then you get extra hours in your day. The public holiday is not for you.
Right.
And so I'm offended that a member of the political class, and I'm sure that there are more people who think like that, would suggest that, right? Like, y'all slaves ain't working hard enough on well enough on the plantation, and you feel like you need a new holiday. See, when the slaves go on their holiday, that's when the manager's supposed to be working.
What about countries that are now trying to implement 4-day work weeks?
No, have implemented them and have proven an increase in productivity.
So when you say it's not a part of the industrial, what's the line that's not something that the industrial world is? It's not an
All
alignment.
right, here we go. Declaring additional days as sacred cows on the Bahamas calendar is simply not trending in the industrialized world where there's economic urgency.
Right, but it is trending. Not so much adding holidays, but this idea of a 4-day work week would essentially add 52 holidays, or let's say
Yeah, days off.
days off.
Right.
If we were to do something like that, right?
And the 4-day work week also recognizes the contribution that people make in the world outside of their professional life. These contributions that you make that are unpaid or do not result in an economic benefit for your boss also have extreme value to the individual, to the family unit, to the community, and to the nation.
Let me ask you this, Aaron, because you like to be analytical. Sense of place. The idea that the chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party asked this at our political rally, is the suggestion that we should make Cylinden Pinglin a holiday for his birthday, does that become political?
Of course. In fact, and then to follow the article up with Colby Davis, perhaps the writer was pointing us in a particular direction, but it is political, and that's at the root of it, right? The critique of the public holiday is not that y'all lazy and y'all don't want to wake anyway, is that you have bastardized Pindling's legacy. You treat him as a political token, only being picked up to generate political credit when it's to your advantage. Right, and that's it. That's when we talk about Pindling.
And I want to ask another question. Wouldn't this essentially be given another holiday to Celinda Pindling? Because we already have National Heroes Holiday.
But here's my next question: Has Pindling? I can't remember which award honor he's been given. If you like, how many more honors are we going to give him?
But don't we celebrate him during National Heroes Day?
Yeah, we want a separate holiday now. Let's go to this caller. The more holidays, the better. Let's go to this next caller. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah,
Oh, good
do
morning.
any of you guys know when this African symposium should be going on in this country?
Hold on, say that again. Repeat the question.
It was supposed to be African symposium going on. I don't know if it passed. Right?
Okay, yeah. So I tell you what, I was hoping to have had the representatives from that event on my show. I just don't have the details at hand right now. But do me a favor, I can try to write a note and check that out. Dates for African Symposium.
And that's free for all to attend.
Okay, you know the dates?
No, I don't.
Okay, but listen, do me a favor, go on to Facebook right now, go online, search it up, and then send me a line to 422-GR96, 422-4796, send a text, and I can read the information on there.
All right, yeah, because in Burkina Faso,
Mm-hmm.
there's some works going on towards Africa liberation.
Yes.
I feel that ought to be a big topic amongst, not just in the Bahamas, but throughout the diaspora,
Yes.
among other race of people.
Ibrahim Traore.
What's going on in America, it ain't get no easier in this diaspora.
Yeah.
And we have puppet leaders.
hmm
God knows.
Let me ask you a question. You think it's time for Ministry of the Diaspora?
Definitely.
All right.
Especially with the objective of connecting back with the motherland.
Mm-hmm.
But
I also am thinking about coordinating diasporic efforts to the benefit of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and not just the political class and the ruling administration. Thank you very much, caller.
yeah, blessed love.
That's
Blessed love.
So going back in terms of being political, right? If the chairman of the audience or its spectators or fellow PLP people, that this is something I want us all to lobby, aka I want the PLP supporters to lobby. Is this part of the election cry?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. The whole thing is just a really nice, smooth way. It is you garnering sort of credit and momentum and energy, and then you really it's like an Obeah-esque thing, really, because you kind of guilting people. Because then the next thing you can do is remind them that this player is the father of the PLP. Don't forget that too, right? And so I'm concerned about that, or more importantly, whether the electorate are savvy enough to read those engagements clearly. On the other side of the break, Mr. Newry, there's more in the letter to explore, interrogate.
Okay, that's it. This is Guardian Radio AM with CA Newry. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll continue to interrogate the letter. We'll be right back.
Sign in and have a seat, please. They'll call you in for your x-ray shortly.
That's why they call it a waiting room. You won't have that problem at Fourth Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor. We never schedule multiple appointments, so you'll be in and out in no time. And if your initial screening reveals a concern, our radiologist can conduct an alternative screening right then and there. Call 328-8157 to schedule an appointment at Fourth Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor today.
At Everybody Wins Live is bringing you the ultimate giveaway, a brand new Cybertruck. For every $30 spent, you're in the drawing for the ultimate grand prize, a Cybertruck. Drawn live at the Vibes Cartel concert March 29th. You'll also be automatically entered to win tickets to see the world boss himself. 25 lucky winners every single week. Visit everybodywinslive.com to get into the game. See website for full terms and conditions. Must be 18 or over to participate.
Looking for insurance that fits your lifestyle and your budget? At Star General Insurance, we've got you covered. Whether it's motor insurance with flexible options for third-party liability and comprehensive coverage, or commercial insurance products that protect your business, we have choices you can afford. Own a home or renting? Our home insurance products have just what you need. And for the adventurers out there, we offer website or social media pages for contact information and quotes. Star General, insurance made simple.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Spring is in the air, and so are the rewards. The Water and Sewage Corporation wants to thank you for staying on top of your bills. When you pay your bill in full, you'll be entered for a chance to win one of 3 Easter baskets filled with exciting surprises. Pay in full before your due date. Complete the entry form, and you'll be entered to win. Visit our social media pages for details. Hop to it and win with the Water and Sewage Corporation. Hurry! Offer ends April 17th.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Teacher, who was a Linden Berlin?
The great talent of the future now lies before us.
On March 22nd, Navy boy was born. His name was Lyndon Oscar Finley, a native Bohemian son. Little did he know as he played on his street that he was born to lead his people from segregation and to be the father of our nation. He went to London to become a lawyer at the youthful age of 18. When he returned, destiny called him to the political scene. He fought for freedom, he fought for his race, even throughout the speaker's mace. In 1967, Sir Lyndon Pindling brought us majority rule. I say Sir Lyndon, Oscar Pindling.
I was waiting for the chorus. Sorry about that. I just like the chorus, the hook on this. Sir Lyndon Oscar Finley. Man, we need a holiday. We need a holiday. I can see me dancing to this on the holiday.
When I was proposing
every holiday.
when I was proposing holiday number 12, y'all was dissing the item.
You just need the right person to call for the holiday. So Lyndon Day.
Listen, I want to continue. I want to read an excerpt from the letter we were interrogating.
Yeah.
Furthermore, the creation of these holidays does not align with tangible events that establish a clear connection between the concepts and their intended purposes. Government creates them, have a church service, and then leaves it. We get one measly rehashed article in the newspaper if we are lucky. Or we get a lecture by people who the youth basically see as fossils from an era before cell phones. I mean, that's a great critique of the government. That's right. That's a great critique of the political class in the government. Don't tell me we the people don't deserve a holiday because the government can't get their act together. See, you supposed to be working when the poor people holidaying. You all, the political class, you all supposed to be holding it together while the plebs and the enslaved ones catch a breath. That's what's supposed to be happening.
So what about the entrepreneurs out there now who have to pay either for what you get double time
double time for a holiday.
If they got to keep their business open,
they got to close,
or they got to close and lose revenue on that day. What about those people? What about the practicality of the loss of revenue?
You trying to mess up my beach day?
I'm trying to figure out how it coincides with beefing up the revenue of the entrepreneurs.
But definitely, a number of stores will be closed, so the economy will shrink. For
And then
that
there's
particular day.
stores that can't close. The supermarkets, they ain't closing. The gas stations, they ain't closing.
Pharmacy shouldn't
Half day.
close.
Right?
half day
So they're gonna get time. They can get time and a half.
for half day.
But half, so they gotta come out of pocket to pay these people for this holiday now.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, but that's okay, Uncle, because this is not a plantation.
Right.
See, if this were a plantation, I could understand the strict application of the rules.
Right.
But it turns out this is not a plantation. The people who live in here and labor in here, they are not enslaved workers. I mean, in fact, I have to re-examine that because it turns out that many of us may be working in slave-like conditions and being treated. In fact, let me just remind you all that you can't waive a constitutional right. Some of these employers around here telling people, right, that they're going to sign a piece of paper to agree to waiving their constitutional rights and their statutorily guaranteed rights. That can't happen. See? So I want to retract my initial statement. They got some slaves for real. But
Because you said that, I'm about to go. Can an employer tell you only have 15 minutes lunch break?
no,
You sure?
I'm almost certain it depends on the contract.
What if they tell you have to come and sign the contract? If you have a different contract, say in half an hour, but they tell you got to come in.
Let me
if
tell you
you want to
something.
keep your job,
When I was at
you
the-
need to come in and sign this 15
When I
minutes.
was at the COB-UE Law School, we were presented with this, I guess, I called it a conundrum. I mean, it was conundrum for 3 seconds. And so the lecturers came to us and said, so listen, here's what happened. We produced an entire schedule. We mapped out all the time you're going to need to study this. And we gave you that schedule knowing that that's not enough time to complete the work that we have assigned to you. So what I need you to do is to sign a contract that says you agree to come to extra classes whenever we assign them, and you agree to be penalized if you don't attend said classes.
Wow.
I didn't sign that contract.
Okay.
I mean,
And what happened?
I ain't got no law degree.
It's good. It's good.
But I ain't no fool. I may not have a law degree, but I ain't no fool.
Everyone else who sang that. Yeah. Big time lawyer.
They making all of this now.
I think it's choose to head the class then. The class then. Just mess that right up.
I ain't no fool.
You better sang, man. You better sang. But anyway.
You set up a whole schedule knowing that you didn't put enough time in it, and I supposed to let you teach me?
I'm just to the employers who
No,
are.
they have the degrees though. I mean, I don't know how they get it, but they got them. I don't have it. I can announce
They're
that.
making all of this now.
I don't have the degree.
To the employers who want to change people lunchtime to 15 minutes, stop it.
And the people who want to make
Stop
people
it.
work overtime, and you're still making them work overtime, and you still ain't following the Labor Act, and you're
Stop
still
it.
pretending like police could do anything in this country.
Stop it.
You all govern yourself, man.
Stop it.
You mean me?
No, I told
Oh, them. Okay, just
them.
checking. Just checking.
Just stop it. And let us brace ourselves. This could be part of the campaign. Cylinder Pinning Day could be on Easter.
If you
Good Friday.
if you want St. Pinning a public holiday, then be prepared to have all of St. Linden's life exposed. You can't be playing these political
No, some
games.
things we buried.
But then it can't be a public holiday. Simple as that. I cool with that. We don't have to talk the man business. Can't be a public holiday. Plus, we need, see, because we don't even want to interrogate what Father of the Nation means. This time, so Linden have Randall Fox repeating MLK Jr. Randall Fox talking about, I fear I've integrated my people into a burning house. I should have stick with the
Last
UDP.
question before we go. Is Lyndon the father of the nation or father of the PLP?
Not neither.
He ain't the father of the PLP?
No.
Someone else is the father of the PLP?
Yeah, and he much more.
Light skin.
Yeah, you know.
This has been Guardian Radio. Talking light skinned people as the father of the PLP. You want to say some blasphemous things on the radio now. This has been
And
Guardian.
Beryl Hannah is the hero of the PLP. If I had to choose a national hero, one day I going across the Commonwealth and
She
telling
ain't
them
never be
the
recognized.
Queen sent me here to tell you all about PLP, buddy. She's the hero of the PLP.
They forget about her. They buried that all together. This has been Guardian Radio AM with CA Newry. Thank you very much, Aaron Green. Thank you very much, Pastor Cleveland Inius
Yes,
III.
Tomas too.
We always
Hold on,
come
as we end the show, let me just say something. So Lyndon was very good to me and a group of young volunteers with the Anglican Church. When he found out that we were teaching Vacation Bible School for free in Mangrove and Key Andros, he took us on a tour of Andros, put us up in Las Palmas for one night, and took care of us because he said, look here, young people volunteering to do these things for free need to be celebrated. See, now for that, I could give him Father of the Nation.
You need to give him a National Heroes Day or a holiday. Anyway, let's go, Kermit, because think how we talking, man. So Lyndon Pinkman's Day. That's what we need.
Presidents and queens, but he never common touch. I say, Sir Lyndon, Oscar Pinling, our first Prime Minister.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.